Hello there, Claire here in the Pacific Northwest, and I want to welcome you back to our cozy urban homestead. Today I'm setting my family up for a week of healthy choices by preparing some staple foods from scratch. There's something truly comforting about making the essentials at home, like a fresh loaf of bread, some creamy mayonnaise to go with it, and nourishing chicken broth. It helps us eat well throughout the week and keeps processed food out of our diet when we have things readily available. And I'm going to show you how to do this with a little bit of prep. But before I get to that, I'm just out here harvesting some of our leftover flowers. The temperatures are getting lower and lower every single night, and everything's looking a little bit more scraggly. This might be the end of the garden, and I'm so sad about it, but I'm just going to bring as much of it as I can inside and enjoy the colors while they're here. Disclaimer for this episode: if you didn't know my name was Mom before, you will absolutely know it by the end of this episode. Today was just me and Katana, and that doesn't stop me from making food because I have hungry people, whether it's tough to do or not. I think a lot of people are intimidated with making bread. It seems like a long, drawn-out process. And when people hear that it's about an hour and 30 minutes before you can make it, they're like, I don't have time for that. Well, I'm going to show you today that in the process of waiting for my dough to rise, I'm going to be getting a couple of things going in the kitchen that only take a few moments. And then you have tasty bread at the end of it. So to start off with making bread, you get about 1 1/3 cup of warm water, add in 2 teaspoons of your activated yeast and 2 teaspoons of sugar. Stir that around, add an egg and a teaspoon of salt, and you will get that into a nice little slurry ready for your flour. Bread is such a basic food. Store-bought options often come with preservatives and lots of added sugars. And by making it ourselves, we know exactly what goes into it. It's so simple. It's just flour, water, yeast, a pinch of salt, maybe a little bit of sugar, or any extra flavoring that you want. It's simple, wholesome, and it fills the house with the most amazing aroma. And kneading the dough is my favorite part. It feels like I'm putting a little bit of love into every loaf. As you're adding flour into your mixture, you're going to end up taking about 3.5 cups. But I added just 1 cup in at a time to see kind of what the consistency is. You want to let it get to kind of a shaggy dough mixture where it's not too sticky and not too dry. And then you will do a little bit more flour on the counter when it comes time for kneading. But in the meantime, here's kind of a cute moment with Katana.
Mom, sheep, what sheep? What? She's so cute. What?
She's so cute.
What? Sheep.
Oh,
Look.
yeah. Oh, I see. You talking about her?
Yeah.
She is so cute.
Yeah. I want to see her eye. Mom, I want to see her eye.
No, this needs to stay in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And as you can see, from the time you start mixing to the time you get to the kneading part, which here we are, it's only about a 3 to 4 minute process. It's really quick. And you just coat your countertop, a clean countertop, with some flour, plop out your dough, and start kneading it. And you'll do that for about 5 minutes. And the reason why you do this, from my understanding, is it activates the gluten, which is what helps the bread to rise and be fluffy. And I might be wrong about that. That's just what I've heard. But either way, it is a really good stress reliever. And then when you've gotten it to the smooth consistency that you want, you're going to just put a little bit of flour in your mixing bowl and plop that back in to be covered up for about an hour to let it rise. Letting the dough rise gives the yeast time to do its magic, making the bread light and airy. It's a little reminder that good things take time, and I love that this spread will become the base for quick sandwiches and toast throughout the week. While we wait for our bread to rise, it's time to talk mayonnaise. So mayonnaise is something most of us don't even think twice about buying from the store, but homemade mayo is worlds apart in taste. Plus, it's made with real simple ingredients that you probably already have on hand in your fridge, or that you can get really easily, like eggs and lemon juice and mustard and oil, and you don't have to worry about hidden sugars or additives. The way you start off, or the way that I did, is you take a room temperature egg and you put about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Also, I used a fresh one, which needs to be room temperature as well. And then I put about a teaspoon of dry mustard. If I could go back for this batch, I would have done maybe half a teaspoon. It was a little bit more on the bitter side than I'd like. And then you emulsify just the egg and the lemon for a little bit, for probably about 30 seconds. And then you start gradually adding in your oil. I do it maybe about 1/4 cup at a time. And the reason why is you want to see it start to emulsify and change and get creamier. When we make things like mayo from scratch, it adds an extra layer of mindfulness to what we eat. I can flavor it however I like. If I want to add some garlic or some herbs or a touch of spice, it's a great way to encourage kids to try new flavors and something kind of familiar that they already know, and like spreading it on a sandwich or using it as a dip for veggies. This is a little bit messier than most things, but if you are like me and you don't like using a lot of dishes, it's great because you can just use a wide mouth jar and you'll have your mayonnaise for the week. Start to finish, I think this is maybe like a 3 to 4 minute project, and it's really great to know that we have the right amount of time to make this, and it lasts us for about a week, and it's good knowing that even the condiments we're using are made with care. So we are still waiting for our bread to finish rising. So we're gonna do another project, and what we're gonna be doing is making chicken broth. And what I love about this is that you use a whole chicken, which is not only more budget friendly, but it gives you a lot of meal flexibility. I can use the meat in various dishes, salads, sandwiches, soups, and then we'll be using the bones to make the broth, so that nothing goes to waste. And it's a great way to stretch our food and make the most of what we have. This recipe that I'm following is from a book called Nourishing Traditions. If you haven't gotten it, it is eye-opening about nutrition. It's one of my favorite books now, and it's so simple to make this chicken stock. So you're just gonna peel some carrots. You're gonna rough chop them, put them in the pot. You may have noticed I actually put the neck from the inside of the chicken into the pot because you're gonna want that collagen and all that good stuff to go into your stock as well. And then, we're gonna rough chop some celery and some onions and combine everything. When I make chicken broth, I'm packing in all the goodness of the bones, the collagen, the nutrients from the vegetables. It's such a nourishing staple to have on hand, especially as the weather gets colder. I love adding a splash of broth to cook grains, or even sipping it on its own for a quick immune boost. Some days where I'm just not feeling good, it's nice to have a hot cup of broth just by itself. And of course, it's great to make, soup. You can add it to cooking rice. Like, it's just endlessly amazing. And just so you know about this particular chicken broth that I'm making, the chicken that I bought, it was on sale. It was $5. It's not always $5, but it was this time. So for $5 and let's just say $3 worth of vegetables, which I don't even think that they cost that much, the amount that I used, I'm gonna be able to make an entire and shredded chicken, and then the broth on top of that, which is amazing. So then you're gonna just rough chop some onions and add it in there with the broth, and then you're gonna want to add in some water, some filtered clean water, which we have a water filter on our kitchen sink, thankfully. And I used about 2.5 quarts of water, And then I'm gonna put about 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar in here with, this is the one that I made a while ago, and add that nourishing ingredient in. Per this recipe, you want to boil your ingredients. So since I'm doing this in my Instant Pot, I'm turning it onto the saute mode, and I'm letting it get boiled for about until it starts to create this kind of what she calls a film on the top, and then you strain that film off before you put on your lid and continue to slow cook it. Now I'm gonna set the Instant Pot to slow cook for 6 hours, and I will come back and show you how everything turns out after that. As you can see, we were able to accomplish a lot while we were waiting for the dough to rise, and now it's time to punch it down and start shaping it into the loaf pan. This dough was a little bit stickier than, normal, but that's the other thing, like, you don't have to always have perfection for things to turn out, adequate, good enough, edible, yummy, and tasty. So I'm not going to wait any longer. I'm just going to go for it and pull this out, shape it into the loaf pan. And after that, we let this sit for about 20 more minutes and rise just a little bit more until we are ready to put it in our oven at 350 degrees for about 25 minutes. About halfway through, I rub butter on the top. You could just use a pat of butter if you want, but that makes it be a little bit softer and when it comes out of the oven. And here we go. We're all finished here. We got a beautiful loaf, and it's ready to be made into PBs and J's, grilled cheeses, just a little bit of toast with some bread, butter and jam. It's hard to complain when you have a fresh loaf of bread, and of course the house smells amazing. I don't know if you can hear Katana singing It's Well With My Soul in her own, 3-year-old version of it. It's so cute.
Is it a sandwich?
No. This is a bread.
It's a bread, yeah.
Yeah, bread.
Yeah, you want some of it?
Yeah.
You want some bread? Okay.
6 hours later, and we are pulling our hot chicken out of the pot, and I'm going to set that aside. I'm gonna pull everything off the bones in a little bit, but it's so hot to even touch. And now I'm gonna just strain off the liquid from the broth into another container. And I ended up burning myself a couple times, so be very careful. I could have probably let it cool down a little bit before I do this, but I was so anxious to just be done in the kitchen for the day. And you just want to get it all into a big giant container, a big giant bowl. And what I do is I put it in the fridge, and what you're supposed to do after it's been cooled down, it will bring the fat to the top of the broth, and you'll just scrape it off the next day, and then you can put it in jars. And what this usually equals for me is about 3 quarts full of chicken broth ready to be used. And the other mega perk of making this broth is that you've got this soft, melt in your mouth, fall off the bone chicken ready to be shredded and put aside to be used throughout the week for anything from, chicken quesadillas, chicken tacos, chicken soup. You make chicken salad, especially since you have the mayonnaise and the bread. So many ready to use uses of the chicken. And I did not fully pull everything off the bone because I was literally getting burned to a crisp, like my fingers were about to fall off. So I just came back to this later, but this is what I was able to get off. As you can see, it's just so tender. There is a certain peace that comes from knowing I've taken the time to prepare these simple staples for my family. When healthy choices are within an easy reach, we're more likely to grab them. It's not about being perfect. It's about setting yourself up for success with nourishing homemade foods that bring comfort and joy to our daily lives. So with that being said, thank you so much for joining me today. I'd love to hear what homemade staples you prepare for your family or tips that you have for simplifying mealtime. Until next time, stay cozy and keep cooking and making delicious stuff and enjoy what you make with your friends and family. If you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.